Hi everyone, so for this project we're going to be doing the Deep Space Sparkle Bento Box grid, and before we get started you're going to need a paper, a pencil, and eraser just to start, and let's talk about what bento boxes actually are. So a bento grid design is a graphic design trend that has been inspired by traditional Japanese bento boxes. Graphic design is a creative process and profession of combining art and technology to communicate ideas. A bento box is similar to a takeout container. Bento boxes have several compartments and hold a variety of different items that make up a single serving meal. A bento box grid design is a grid-based, which means it's made up of arranging parallel and perpendicular lines that create a series of squares and rectangles. Bento grids are great for arranging a variety of information together to create an overall sense of unity. So for example, you can see a real bento box here. It's almost like a Lunchable where you can have different options inside of each space that you can eat from. Now we are doing the same thing, but instead of eating from our bento boxes are going to represent ourselves and have our names in them. So to first set up our grid, you're going to have a piece of paper, and you get to decide how you want your paper to be. If you want it horizontal, you can have it horizontal, or you can have it vertical facing up and down if you'd like. I'm going to do mine horizontal just because I like the way how it looks. So to start, we need to measure out some lines with our ruler. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your ruler so it's lined up with the top edge of your paper, and the ruler is coming down. Then very lightly you're going to trace the bottom half of your ruler to make a horizontal line. It should look something like this. What you did on the top, I also want you to do on the bottom, but facing up. So have your ruler inside of your paper, then very lightly draw your line. It should look like this. Notice from the top the line is in, from the bottom the line is also in. Then flip your ruler vertically, same thing, have it on the inside of the paper, line it up with the outside edge, but draw the line on the inside edge like this. Notice how I'm also using a super light pressure with my pencil because we will be erasing a lot in this project. Same thing as I did on the right, I'm going to do on the left, ruler lined up to the edge, draw the line on the inside. It should look something like this. Now what you essentially just did was you created your frame for the outside of your bento box. So what you're going to do is you're going to very carefully and very gently erase those corners so that it looks like there is just a square or a rectangle on the center of your page. So I'm just erasing here and I'm going to all four corners. All right, now that my grid is all set up, you should look like you have a floating rectangle inside of your paper. If you're working vertically, it looks like this as well too. Because I'm keeping mine horizontal, I'm gonna just leave my page like this. Now, here's where everyone's bento boxes are gonna look a little bit different because you need a minimum of 5 boxes for the letters of your name. If your name has more than 5 letters, you're going to want to create more than 5 boxes. Now the trick with this is you can only use your ruler going vertical and only horizontal. So to start, I'll show you how to do 1 box, and your boxes are not going to go outside of the frame. So for example, I'm going to do a very light line vertically up and down like this. Then you can flip your ruler and start drawing horizontal lines in between your vertical lines to create boxes. Here's our perpendicular lines. Then just move throughout your paper, creating different boxes with different heights and different widths. So maybe I'll go right here. There's my vertical. There's my horizontal. I have room up here. I can make this one just vertical. I have room down here. And notice how I'm picking my pencil up and stopping just to create those boxes. And as you go, make sure you're counting. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is good because I have over 5. For my name too, I'm gonna do Smith, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. Now, depending on how many extra details you wanna add, you may have to add extra boxes. So think about balance and balancing your piece and figuring out where lines will look good and where you can add those extra boxes in. Keep in mind that you're only doing the vertical and horizontal lines. Perfect, so it looks pretty balanced, and what I mean by balanced is it's not all one big giant box over here and a bunch of little boxes over here. This is what we want. Inside of our boxes, we are gonna put our first names, or if you have a shorter last name, you could do your last name too. So from here, we're gonna use bubble and block letters to start adding our names into our designs. Now for your design, you can do either your first name or your last name or even a nickname. So using our bubble and block letter guides that are in our packets, these are going to help you put these bubble and block letters inside of your actual artwork. So for mine, I'm gonna do my last name Smith, and using my guide, I'm gonna do the bubble letters in random boxes. So I'm just gonna start adding those in. If you're unsure with the block letters, usually what you do is you start with the uppercase and then put a block around it and then erase your center line. I'll let this part fast forward so you can see what that really looks like when it's done. Perfect, so all my letters are in just as a rough draft right now. Now is the chance too where you can go in and erase anything that you don't like. So I don't really like how my S looks here, so I'm just gonna work and adjust that. I made sure that I used a really light pressure with my pencil when I did my first part of the sketch so that it was easy to erase. Keep in mind too, you can also use your rulers to get those straight edges. Now you'll see that I have some boxes that are empty. I have 3. In those boxes that are empty, I want you to draw or sketch in things that represent you. So for example, I really like baseball and softball, so I'll probably put a baseball and softball in here. I like to play video games, maybe I'll put a controller here, and I really like Harry Potter, so maybe I'll do something up here. So plan out what you want in those extra boxes and sketch them in. Perfect, I have all of my ideas in my extra boxes. Now is the chance to change anything you may want to change. One last bit too that you could add is you can add shadows to your letters. Now when you're adding your shadows, you want to think of a light source. So imagine that the sun is shining on a letter. If you have a light side, you'll also have a shadow side. So if your light source is up here, your shadow will go on the left side. So you can add your shadow in, and you can also add your shadow in using different types of lines. So if you want a striped shadow, if you want a dotted shadow, if you want a bold, thick shadow, use your drawing guide to really get those shadows in. I'm going to add a few in now. All right, perfect. My design is complete. Before adding the color, we need to outline using Sharpie. If you have small details, please use the finer line Sharpies. For everything else, you are going to trace just with regular Sharpie. Keep in mind, you do have a ruler nearby for a reason, so if you need that for those straight edges, make sure you use that. So let's fast forward so it can be all outlined. Alright, so everything is traced with my Sharpie, and because I did accidentally go outside of some of my lines on purpose and on accident, like how you see here, take an eraser and just get rid of those extra pencil lines just to really clean up your piece. Now for adding color, you have lots of options. You can use the skinny markers, you could use Sharpies, you could use colored pencils, you can use regular markers. But what I want you to keep in mind is to have balance throughout your piece. And what I mean by that is don't just do all blue over here. Make it balanced throughout too. You also can use your color scheme. So if you want to make it all warm colors, make it all warm colors. All cool colors, you could do that. You also could work with complementary colors, which are opposites, which work together nicely together. So you can use a combo of any of those materials to really fill in your entire page. The only area where you're not adding anything is outside of your bento box, the outside edge. So this border, don't put any color. I'll let this part fast forward so you can see what it looks like when it's finished.